Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Kinship Caregivers Sanctuary podcast. This is a space for grandparents and relatives who are raising children. I am your host, Jackie Stephens, Kinship Caregiver. I'm an author, I'm an advocate, and I'm a fellow traveler on this journey. This is a space where we talk honestly about the realities of caregiving, the healing that often accompanies it, and the importance of caring for ourselves along the way. Today, I want to explore a question that has been sitting with me for quite some time. A question that may feel uncomfortable, a question that may bring up sadness, a question that may even feel difficult to answer. And that question is, who am I outside of caregiving? So before we begin, as usual, I want to help us take a moment to settle in, take a breath, allow your shoulders to relax. If you're driving, you can just simply listen. If you're sitting quietly, perhaps place your hand over your heart. And together, let's spend a few moments exploring something many caregivers rarely have the opportunity to consider. As caregivers, we become very accustomed to answering questions about everyone else. How is your grandchild doing? What services do they receive? What appointments do they have this week? How is your adult child? How is school going? How are things at home? And we're often able to answer those questions quickly and in great detail. But every once in a while, if someone were to ask us, what brings you joy? What are your hobbies? What are your passions? Oh, and the dreaded questions for me. What do you do for fun? What do you enjoy doing just for yourself? Oh my God, sleep comes to mind. And but I do love to travel, and I've even enjoyed solo traveling recently. And yeah, fun does have its place. I mean, who doesn't love to have fun? But seriously, many of us will pause when asked those questions, not because we don't have interest, not because we don't have passions, but because somewhere along the way, our focus shifted almost entirely toward caring for others. For many kinship caregivers, this didn't happen overnight. We've often spent years caring for others as daughters, as spouses, as parents, as employees, as helpers, as problem solvers. And then, unexpectedly, many of us became parents all over again. The needs kept coming. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, we stopped asking ourselves who we are. This topic is deeply personal for me. I found myself asking this question recently. Who am I outside of caregiving? What are my interests, passions, hobbies? And honestly, I struggle to answer those questions because caregiving has been such a significant part of my identity. Being a mother, being a grandmother, being a kinship caregiver, being the person people call when something needs to be handled, being the one who holds things together. Those roles have been meaningful. They matter, but there's still roles. And somewhere in the middle of preparing for this conversation, I realized I may have been asking myself the wrong question. Maybe the question isn't, what are my hobbies? Maybe the question is, what makes me come alive? And so when I sat with that question, the answer became much clearer. It's healing. I absolutely come alive when I talk about healing. I come alive when I see someone begin to understand their story differently. I come alive when someone who has been carrying pain starts believing that healing is possible. I come alive when caregivers realize that they matter too. I come alive when someone discovers that their past doesn't have to define their future. And for the first time, I begin to understand that perhaps healing isn't just something I've experienced. Perhaps it's part of who I am. Perhaps God has woven that passion into the very fabric of my life. When I look back, I can see it everywhere. In the books I've written, in the trainings I've facilitated in the marketplace, in the support groups, in the advocacy, in the conversations about forgiveness, grief, trauma, growth, and hope. What I thought was simply a collection of experiences may actually be a calling that has been revealing itself all along. And that realization changed this conversation for me because this episode stopped being about finding myself and became more about recognizing myself. For me, that in itself is huge. I came across a couple of quotes and that I'd love to share with you. The first one is by Harold Thurman, and it says, "Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go and do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive." The next one is by Oprah Winfrey. She said, "Your calling isn't something that somebody can tell you about. It's what you feel. It's a part of your life force. It's the thing that gives you juice, the thing you are supposed to do, and nobody can tell you what that is. You know it inside yourself." So, but I think there's another layer to this conversation. Sometimes when we ask ourselves who we are outside of caregiving, we uncover grief. Grief over the parts of ourselves we've neglected. Grief over dreams we've postponed. Grief over interests we never had time to explore. There's grief over how long it's been since we felt free to simply be. And that's okay. If that's what comes up for you today, I want you to know you're not alone. There is no shame in acknowledging what you've lost. In fact, healing often begins with honesty. Sometimes we have to acknowledge what has been missing before we can begin reclaiming it. The beautiful thing is that just because a part of you has been buried doesn't mean it's gone. It may simply be waiting, waiting for your attention, waiting for your permission, waiting for the season when it can emerge again. This conversation reminds me of something Jesus said in the Gospel of John, I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. John 10:10. Notice he didn't say survive. He didn't say merely endure. He said life, abundant life, full life, a life that includes purpose, joy, peace, growth, and connection. Sometimes as caregivers, we become so focused on helping everyone else live fully that we forget God desires fullness for us too. Not someday, not after everyone else's needs are met, but now, in whatever small ways are possible in this season. And Psalm 139 reminds us that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, not because of what we do, not because of who we care for, but because of who God created us to be. Our value was never meant to be tied solely to our responsibilities. So I want to leave you with a few questions to sit with this week. There are no right answers. This is just an invitation for you to reflect. If caregiving responsibilities disappeared for one full day, how would you spend your time? Not catching up on chores, not running errands, not taking care of everyone else. How would you spend your time? What activities make you lose track of time? What conversations energize you? What have you always wanted to learn? What used to bring you joy before life became so heavy? And perhaps the biggest question of all, who are you becoming in this season? Not just as a caregiver, but as a person, as an individual, as someone created with gifts, passions, dreams, and purpose. As you reflect this week, I want to invite you to consider something. Your answer may not be healing. It may be teaching. It may be nurturing. It may be creating. It may be serving. It may be encouraging. It may be building. It may be leading. But I wonder, what is the thing that makes you come alive? Not what you're good at. Again, not what you're good at, not what others need from you, not what you've always done, but what awakens something inside of you? What gives you energy? What makes you feel connected to who God created you to be? Because perhaps the journey isn't simply discovering a hobby. Perhaps it's discovering or rediscovering the person God created you to become. As we close today, I want to remind you of something. You are not only a caregiver, you are not only a grandparent, you're not only the one holding everything together. You are a whole person, a valuable person, a person worthy of care, joy, growth, and healing. Caregiving may be a part of your story, but it's not your entire identity. There's still more of you to discover. And perhaps this season is inviting you to become reacquainted with yourself. I want to thank you for spending this time with me in the sanctuary. If this episode resonated with you, I would love to hear from you. What is something that makes you come alive? Share your thoughts in the comments, send me a message, or share this episode with another caregiver who may need this reminder today. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, take care of your heart, and remember, you matter too. This is Jacqueline Stephens, and you've been listening to Kinship Caregivers Sanctuary, a space for healing, strength, and shared stories for grandparents and relatives raising children. Until next time, may you find moments of peace, pockets of joy, and reminders that even while caring for others, you are worthy of care too. Take good care.